Hello, hello, hello. This is the Platform and Core Development Update. My name is Bola Ashbezi, and we are here with the DCG's Platform and Core Development teams to give you an update of what happened in the last 2 weeks, development-wise. We are planning this session for 1 hour, and at the very end, we will have a Q&A. So please feel free to raise your questions in the live chat below, or if you have any comments, any feedbacks, let us know as well. Then let's start with Tender-Dash teams.
Hello everyone. I'm Dmitry from Tender-Dash team. Well, according to our plan, we have finally completed work on version V012. All task PRs which are related to the 12 version have done, reviewed, and measured. Such as refactoring the consensus module, where we fully redesigned the component to eliminate the block issue. Also refactoring the block sync module to make the component more stable than it was. And that this component also was fully redesigned. Along with this, we added new functionality that is P2P client, which is simplified of interaction with the connected P2P peers to the Tender-Dash node. Well, actually, we created this new functionality already ported in block synchronization module and mempool module. Also, we have a plan to migrate the REST component to use a P2P client as well. Well, all this refactoring is give us more stability and increasing our code coverage. This is the main reason for this huge refactoring, for which we specially created a new version of Tender-Dash. Well, besides the refactoring, we did several minor tasks, like updated protobuf documentation and fixed a few bugs, including the correct error handling that was reported as a Tendermint vulnerability. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, actually, sorry.
I believe we lost our dear host. So I'm going to share, I'm going to take over presentation, guys, 1 second. But if we lost him, well, no, the live streaming should still work. Give me a second, guys.
I think I am back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Are we still live?
We're still live. I believe so, but I'm gonna. Can you guys see the slides now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take over presentation.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, Dima, you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah. Then I don't actually. I don't know. Which slide is open at this moment?
What we planned.
Okay. We have to move to the next slide. What's slide before testing phase?
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, basically, we didn't. Sam. Yeah,
I mean, nothing's changed, right?
Yeah, nothing changed. Actually, we're still blocked by RSDBP integration. So basically, just to keep it on the same page, when we will be unblocked, we start working on this on this item. But currently we're focused on other things.
Yeah, and just for the viewers to know, the adjust vote extensions, that's a few hours at most of work. We just need it to be integrated before we can do that to test it properly. As people might be aware here, we were actually planning on releasing to the testing phase version 10. Was it 10 or 11, Dima?
10.
Yeah, so over the last 2-3 months, Tender Dash team has done 2 more versions because basically they haven't been waiting to test. They've been actively looking and trying to find issues. And over this time, they found the following issues and made the following fixes. So V12 is quite probably going to be quite stable, especially compared to V10. But yeah, so, kudos to the Tender Dash team for being in advance. So I believe, when we go to testing phase, it will be a lot easier. One thing, question for you, Dima, do you plan, are there any other stability issues that you know of, or is everything done at this point?
Actually, everything done at this point, I hope. We don't have any other issues. Yeah, currently we created to release a new version of Tender Dash, and we are ready to test it. And yeah, we will currently our testing phase of new version for DevNet blocked by a platform. When platform will unblock us, we can deploy everything on DevNet and start testing it. So this is our plan. What as a next step of our stability.
Yeah, that's great. So just so people are aware, the Tender Dash team is actually, Lucas is all ready for the previous sprint, and Dima will join him on the following sprint, agreed to program in Rust instead of Go and help out other teams so we can get over the finish line because they don't have anything left. So congratulations to Tender Dash team. Let's move on to GroveDB. Oh, actually, no, Tender Dash Rust bindings. So
yes, yeah.
Go on here. Sorry.
Yeah, just a couple of words about this slide. So, along with working on Wizard 12 as a part of Rust migration, we began to work on Tender Dash ABCI server. This is implementation of ABCI servers written on Rust that should replace the JavaScript implementation afterward. Well, the goal of this implementation is accept connection from a Tender Dash and handling Tender Dash request with the invoke the proper method in application. Basically, yeah, it's just kind of a quite simple implementation of server, which should be like a proxy between the Tender Dash and the application itself. So this first step of this implementation has done, where we created the server itself, a request routing, and now we have to pack everything in Docker, create the code which should handle the configuration file, working through the environment variables, whatever. So basically, we need to do some work to create like a production-ready code. So yeah, this is pretty much it for myself.
Mm-hmm. And for the people wondering, like, what is this? Why are we doing this? The plan was always to move away from JavaScript completely, but to rewrite the entire thing in from JavaScript to Rust was a very daunting task. So we decided to take one part at a time and rewrite it. And this part was actually going to be post mainnet. However, our Tender Dash team didn't know Rust language, and this seemed like a very good task for them to learn Rust while being in Tender Dash, kind of. So, only going 50% of the distance for our first task, and they've done an amazing job in just a few weeks. It's really really amazing to see how quickly this is going. It's going so quickly that it's debatable what's going to be finished first at this point. So let's move on to GroveDB. Yep, sorry. So in GroveDB, there's very little going on, but Wisdom can explain the verification bindings really quickly.
Hey guys, this is Bizan from the GroveDB team. So the final task on GroveDB/RS Drive side is the bindings for the verification functions, so that mobile can be able to access this logic. Last sprint, due to personal reasons, that wasn't available, so no progress was made on this task last sprint. But we should be done with this in a couple hours, or worst case tomorrow. So they should be done by next sprint, basically.
Yeah, and this was not a task that was actually in our planning before the testing phase as well. We were planning on doing this at a later time because the mobile clients, verification on the mobile clients was not the highest priority, right? The highest priority was getting something on testnet for incubator to use, for people to verify their dApps are working, etc. The actual verification part, it was okay that it was a few months later, but we're at that point where we're kind of ready for it. So in the mobile teams as well. So that's basically it there. Yeah, so as in previous weeks, almost all the work is happening in really Rust DPP port, but Ivan's going to mention a few words about protocol in the meantime.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, everyone. Yeah, as Sam already mentioned, we didn't put too much resources to the protocol work this sprint. Kostya just came back from vacation, and I had vacation this sprint as well. So, but we continue to integrate Core 19 and implement HPMN. Kostya, would you like to talk about the Dashcore library?
Yeah, sure. So this week we finally accomplished Core 19 integration into Dashcore library. We fixed every single bug that we found. We fixed all the tests. So now it's ready to be usable in our next steps. Dashmate, for example, and platform. So Ivan, would you continue?
Yeah. So we're still working on the integration HPMN into Dashmate setup. Previous sprint, we reported that we already have HPMN for local development network in Dashmate. And currently we're working to enable registration of new HPMN nodes with Dashmate setup. It's going to be like a wizard with the interface when you can easily choose what type of node do you want for which network, and fill the specific information and generate the keys. And then Dashmate will provide you a special command to actually register it with your hardware wallet or mobile wallets. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a good surprise for you guys. Yeah. Also, we're working on, yeah.
But I do think that you should mention that so people don't think like this is a big task that's been going on for a very long time. You've only worked on this for 2 days, correct? Because
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is not a very big task, so people know this is a small task, but yeah.
Yeah, we didn't work the whole sprint on this. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Sam. And together with the Michael from Incubator and our infrastructure team, we're working on HPMN DevNet implementation. We're facing with some issues from the core side, with some this configuration stuff and what we progressing. And we go back, please. Samuel. Oh, thanks. Yeah, so now we have already a DevNet with the Dashmate instead of our custom Docker compose file what we had previously in our deployment tool, but still facing some small issues. I hope we will be able to start very soon. And this is like a preliminary step to deploy the testnet with Core 19 and HPMN. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So in what's left for V24, nothing has changed, mostly because, well, still blocked by RSDBP integration. So let's go on to RSDBP integration, where the majority of the work from pretty much everybody in platform happened. Who's taking this one?
I think we're starting with Anton.
Yeah, that is right. That's me. Hello, everybody. Anton's here. Today, I'm going to give you a brief update on what do we do in our Rust DPP port and what we are working right now. Compared to the previous presentation, we actually finished all the tasks that we've were working on or planned to work on, which includes state transitions and factory facade that's been merged. We've merged all the document transitions, pull requests. We did backports and removing tag that, but there is one caveat I'm going to talk about a little bit later. We finished all the data contract integration tests. We merged the pull requested unified error format in a RSDBP. And we finished integration of WASM-DPP in DABI, but that's for Igor to talk about. Now we have 3 more main areas to work on. That's integration of WASM-DPP in JS Drive and integration of WASM-DPP into SDK. Those are 2 big tasks we are going to focus on right now. And also there is another one that we are working in parallel. It's cross checks for JS-DPP and WASM-DPP tests. What we are doing, we take all the JavaScript tests and we compare them all to the tests we have for WASM-DPP and checking if we missed something or if there is any bugs or something is not right. And this is a very kind of a broad umbrella for a lot of tasks like that, basically cross checks for our work, the double checking after we finish the work on WASM-DPP to be absolutely 100% sure that JS-DPP and WASM-DPP are fully compatible and interchangeable.
Sorry, Anton,
yeah,
why we are here, can you elaborate on the connection and relation to WASM-DPP, RSDBP, JS-DPP? Why do we need WASM-DPP?
Yeah, WASM-DPP is a binding for the Rust DPP we have. Rust DPP is a port of the JavaScript DPP that we had before that we decided to port in Rust, so we can have all the Rust benefits, including speed, memory safety, elimination of whole classes of bugs, and things like that. Basically, everybody in Cryptosphere is developing Rust now, and we doing the same for obvious reasons I've just mentioned. WASM-DPP is a binding for JavaScript, so we don't really want to be and sort of a Netscape where we just rewrite the whole thing in a new language, create all the new technologies. We want to roll out those changes and refactorings and rewrites gradually. So we decided to start with the most important part, with the most critical part that would benefit from Rust the most, which is protocol library, DPP. And because of that, we still have a lot of our services still written in JavaScript. And because of that, we can just plug Rust library into JavaScript and call it a day. We need a bridge between Rust code and JavaScript code so they can talk to each other. And that's WASM-DPP. WASM-DPP is this glue that glues JS code base we already have with a new Rust protocol implementation that we were working on for the past couple of months. So yeah, that's that.
Thank you very much.
You guys remember, I've mentioned before that we marked V24 backports as done, but we recently discovered, I think it actually was yesterday, that we missed one part, and we've discovered that when we were working on integration of WASM-DPP into JS Drive, and that is the code for withdrawal state transitions. So you can withdraw your credits, rewards for running a master node on the platform. That's a part we actually haven't ported from JS code to Rust code, and that is something we require for successful integration of WASM-DPP in JS Drive. And Javid and Pavel are working on this right now. Unfortunately, they are not on this call, so they won't give you a more detailed update on the work they are doing right now, but they are working on this part. I guess I can give a word to Igor so he can describe what he's doing right now in regards to integrating WASM-DPP into DAPI and SDK. Igor?
Thank you, Anton. So as Anton said, there are 3 projects that should be integrated with WASM-DPP, and all of them should be done simultaneously. And making one thing won't work because other things will be either expecting or returning incompatible results. So yeah, as Anton said, we have now 3 or 4 people working on that. This includes SDK, DAPI, and Drive. So we've chosen DAPI as the first project to integrate WASM-DPP because it serves as the communication point between SDK and Drive. And it is also the simplest things of all of them because there is the least usage of WASM-DPP, and it was good for testing and catching basic bugs. We have all tests covered in DAPI and replaced JS-DPP with WASM-DPP. And also we made API entry point to use WASM-DPP. So currently we are working, I'm working on SDK, and Pavel and Javid working on Drive. And eventually the whole effort will be concluded by making sure that platform test suite is working with all the components enabled. Aside from that, I realized that the amount of refactoring needed in SDK is quite high. And unfortunately, SDK didn't have a linter before that. So there were no common coding style and even basic formatting. So I just had a small window of time, and before doing this big refactoring, which is definitely a pain without linter, I added ESLint and made a major cleanup and sanitization of all code in SDK. So since now on, it should become smoother and simpler. Yes, this is it from my side. Thank you, and hopefully next time we will have more. We'll have more coverage of this part.
Can we go to the next slide, please?
Yeah, thanks. So while one thing that I've been working on is DPP refactoring and a lot of fixes. And I was working on this mostly because I'd been working on other parts of the project, RS Drive, GroveDB, and TenderDash in the past, but I had never really gone into DPP. And together with another developer, Evgeny, we made kind of a plan of what needed to be fixed and changed. And as I started working on my review of the whole system, I realized that that there were some parts that, to put it mildly, I really did not like. So and not that I just did not like. When we would go to the testing phase, I knew that we'd be in the testing phase for months, if not, like a very, very, very long time, if these fundamental issues were not solved. And the biggest issue, well, the biggest issue was at the base of when DPP was ported from JavaScript to Rust, it kept the lower level, I would say, object system of JavaScript, and that, in my opinion, was not a correct approach. Instead, because Java, it was basically using JSON objects all over the place. However, when you're designing a blockchain system, JSON is not the best way to represent objects in your system. To kind of get around this problem, there were multiple classes of JSON objects, some that included buffers inside of them, some of that included arrays of integers, and they were all, I did not think that it would actually stand the test of time as soon as we start running it. So instead, I built a new platform value system that actually has all types that we need for all types of data contracts. I refactored the document type and document stub. I replaced JSON throughout the whole underlying system. So there's no longer any lower level JSON in DPP. Everything is a platform value. And so after doing all of this, at one point about last week, after like ripping out some of the lower level system and replacing it with a new system that I had built, I ran, to test, and there were 450 compilation issues. So I fixed all of those. After fixing all the compilation issues, there were 200 test issues. I fixed all of those. And after the 200 test issues, there were another 100 issues in Drive and other parts of the project, fixed all of those. And then after that, there were 100 issues in WASM DPP. And at the moment, I thought that I was going to finish, and I am down to 3 with Igor's help today. Igor, at the beginning of today, we were at 25, but they were very hard. And right before the review, we made it down to 3. And it's not that they're harder. We just literally ran out of time. So the point is that I'm not even finishing. I'm not sleeping tonight until this thing is merged in, because it is now 19,500 lines of code, about, give or take a few hundred. And it really, once this is merged in, I'll feel much more confident about continuing work on helping others on DPP integration with other parts of the project. So that was a big explanation. Let's move on to, so what we're planning to do. So, yeah, I mean, after this, there really only is the changing the hooks in JS Drive and SDK. How much would you guys say you're done with this? Have you just started? Are you in the middle? Are you at the end?
Yeah, we're kind of in the middle. I've just described what we are doing right now. For the WASM DPP in JS Drive, we've just started, but then we realized that there is a chunk of code missing regarding the withdrawals in RSDBP, and we are going to port that from the JS DPP to RSDBP in the coming days. Then integration of WASM DPP and SDK Igor just covered. That's a big undertaking that will take a lot of time just because of how big SDK is and how extensively it uses protocol. And cross-checks for JS DPP and WASM DPP tests, that's again in the middle. So we won't add anything new compared to the previous week in that sense. Basically, we are in the middle through the tasks we haven't finished the previous week. The good news is that once those three things are done, once those areas are covered, we would actually be able to try to run platform test suite. And if test suite works, that is a very good sign, because that means that the integration was successful, and it would place us very close to actually producing a release candidate for the platform.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, is there a way that I can help after I integrate this? After I finish.
There is nothing that can be done in parallel in a lot of places, just because if we allocate more people to those tasks, we will just bump into each other a lot. The current allocation is kind of like that. For JS Drive and the withdrawals port, it's a tasks for Javid and Pavel. SDK is Igor's tasks, and while the guys are working on this, I am doing a cross-check of the tests and fixing the bugs that we find in the process. And we also agreed that if Javid, Pavel, or Igor will find any bugs during their integration process, I will also fix those. So that's kind of the situation right now. And there is nothing much we can do at this point to speed this thing up, because there is a bottleneck. This is a very, we basically all are working on the same exact, not the same exact, but on the same piece of code that does the same thing. And if you just throw more people at the task, it will create a situation where we will just bump into each other and work on the same exact areas of code, which always creates a lot of conflicts that are a bit hard to resolve. So yeah, that's that.
But this has been going on for, not going on, but like the WASM DBP integration, I think we started reporting on it a few months ago. How sure are we that it's going to be done by the next sprint at this point?
Oh, that is a great question. There is quite a high chance that it can be done, but I wouldn't say that it's 100%, that it will be done 100%, because there is one caveat, right? If we run platform test suite, if we get to the stage, like basically once we get to running platform test suite, that means that we already finished like the actual integration work, and then we have like we've kind of accomplished the integration. Now, because platform test suite is a very complex test scenario that tests a lot of things, a lot of end-to-end user scenarios, we might find bugs during the platform test suite part, and that might or might not set us back. So I'd say there is a high chance.
I'm not talking about being done. I'm talking about WASM integration, and we start platform test suite. I mean, I would love for class test suite to pass with flying colors, but I literally just want us to move to the next step. Are we sure that that's going to happen?
I'd say there is quite a high chance of this happening. Yeah.
Is there, so you said that there would be some Rust, that there are some functionality that hasn't been ported. Is there any place that anybody can help that while the WASM DPP is being integrated?
Yeah, that is a good point. I think we definitely can allocate somebody else to try to help the actual withdrawal code. Pavel is working on it right now, but I think we can use somebody else on that part.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Shall we move on to core?
Let's move on to core.
All right. Hello, guys. I would speak about current situation in core. So first of all, we are in testnet phase of V19, as you may already know. We had some issues discovered in testnet a few blocks after the V19 fork activation. We managed to resolve those in the first place. Then again, we got a new one last week. So basically related to high performance mass nodes registration rules. And to be precise, the registration of a high performance mass nodes requires the input of 3 platform related fields into the TX, and we skipped a duplicate check on one of those fields. Well, basically we were checking for uniqueness on block processing level, but not on wallet level. So we just needed to make this check before broadcasting the actual transaction. So this resulted to the chain to stop. So we fixed that. We released yesterday, I believe, the latest release candidate, so RC7. Things are going well so far. So we expect at least 2 weeks of stable testnet before actually releasing V19. Basta, anything to add on the roadmap of V19?
No, nothing to add there. Yeah, did want to just emphasize a little bit about our current plan is to have a final release around April 6th. That did get pushed back a little bit from our previous estimates, but that's our current goal at this point.
All right, so please, can we go to the next slide?
Sam, would you?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
All right, so Basta, you want to say about the new release that we have?
Yeah, sure. So just a second ago, and or in a few seconds, we are releasing 18.2.2. It fixes an important issue where a miner could produce an invalid block that could end up resulting in a crash on your node. So that is a very important update. We aren't super worried about this being exploited. We've worked with some mass node operators to ensure that a portion of the network is already resilient against this, but that is a very important thing to update to ensure that your node will not be vulnerable to this issue. It also fixes a few other small things in the 18.2 kind of series, but that's the main thing that it fixes, and it is very important to update to it. So yeah, I think I'm going to pass back to Odie. He's going to talk about some of the stuff that he worked on in V19 and V20 stuff.
Yeah, so along with the V19 rollouts, we will also update existing dips with the changes in V19. So the changes brought by the new HPMN and the new BLS scheme activation. There's also the release of the actual HPMN dip, so it makes sense. We forgot to include it into the list. And besides all this V19 work, we already started working on stuff for V20. So I think I already talked about this in the previous video, but I can summarize again. There's a new dip pending for V20, which basically is changing a bit the way we calculate members for quorums, and we, in order to achieve that, we needed to alter the actual Coney base, because we needed to include in the Coney base the best chain lock signatures. Why is that? Because the best chain lock signature is going to be used for a randomizer for the better member calculation algorithm. And beside that, Pasta can present the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, sure. So we talked about most of this stuff previously. Probably the one that got the most amount of completion done related to it was the backporting or implementation of Geeks or GUIX or GUIX or however you want to pronounce it. We now have GUIX working on develop, and we're able to create binaries with it. It's a pretty good step. GUIX will enable us to have better control over our build process. Right now, it's really kind of annoying. Every time I want to create a development build or something like that, I end up in creating RISC-V binaries, which are good, and it's cool that we support RISC-V, but it also takes 50% longer because now we're building for 3 systems instead of 2, and we don't use RISC-V ourselves internally. So when I'm just trying to create a build to put on a DevNet or something, it's kind of annoying. GUIX is a lot kind of more configurable in that way at the time of build. And it also will allow us to continue backporting from Bitcoin, which will allow us to do things like provide native macOS builds for Apple Silicon. Right now, we're still providing Intel builds for macOS, and that's fine. But, you know, Dash Core isn't a light application, so it would be very beneficial to be able to have native compute. So that was the biggest thing that got a lot of work done. There was more work on the other 3 items there, and you can take a look at all the merged pull requests in the last 2 weeks if you want to. I listed them out there, but Geeks is kind of the thing that I was most excited about. We just kind of made the most progress on it, and we're doing a good job with it. So I think that's everything that we have from the prepared slides, and I think we are good to go to questions now, Balázs.
All right, thank you very much. So the first question is getting back to the release date for testnet. So is 5th or 6th of April is current target for testnet release? That is slightly delayed, or is this going to be slightly delayed? So can you give us some clarifications on those release dates?
So the 6th of April was on my slide, and to hopefully provide a little clarity, that is a final release to mainnet for Dash Core version 19. the other teams might have stuff that they want to say about any of their schedules, but April 6th is what we are shooting for releasing Dash Core to mainnet version 19.
All right,
Cool.
and that can be slightly delayed if I understand correctly.
No delays. No delays.
We'll
Don't
see what
let
happens. Obviously, if we encounter issues on testnet that we have to fix, then we have issues that we have to fix. But
that is what I meant.
Yeah,
I would like to give a quick shout out to XKCD for finding two of the issues. He's been QAing a few things, and it's quite appreciated. So
kudos. Thank you very much. No more questions, rather inquiry. I hope we can soon get some clarification on what the expected cost will be to store X bytes on Evo.
on what?
On Evo, sorry.
Oh, well, we had those calculations in the HPMN discussion, but we don't have the final clarity, right? We don't have the final value because
so he continues that I want to know how much data you will be able to store, realistically speaking. Yeah, just to finish. Please go ahead with the answer.
Sure. So there are two parts to that question. The first one is how much does things cost? That was actually in the slides in the HPMN discussion, and we went for the 4K HPMN. So it drastically lowered the cost of storage by going with that solution. I forget exactly. It's been so long, and my brain's completely somewhere else. But yeah, I believe it was. I mean, it's quite cheap to store data on platform. Something. I'm coming to like $1.2 per megabyte, but I might be completely wrong. Somebody has to fact check me here. So there's that. Then there's the question of how much space do you have inside a document to store arbitrary data, and that space is actually very little for release. And the reason for that is it could have unintended consequences if we allow big data storage in platform, and until we are able to figure out a solution for those unintended consequences, we need to basically limit the size so things can't be used for very nefarious purposes, with a goal of upping that limit as soon as possible.
I would add one thing. So as for the total capacity of the network, there is no upper limit, really. It really depends on a number of factors. The main bottleneck is the hardware. So if there is a profit to be made from storing data on platform, then the masternodes will be incentivized to upgrade their hardware to include more storage. So there is no hard upper limit on what actually can be stored on platform. But again, you will run into the costs of how much does it cost to store something.
No, but that's not actually true, Anton. There is an upper limit of how we're artificially putting in an upper limit on data stored in platform. And the reason for that is because we need a mechanism to stop certain, things that would violate laws for master owners.
Well, that's true, but I'm not talking about the document limit. I'm talking about the full network capacity that, the network as a whole can store quite a lot of stuff.
All right.
So for the first version, we're just following the industry standard in terms of sizes of storage, like the same amount of data space that you can store, like for example, in other projects, you would be able to store with Dash. But the goal is to up that limit as soon as we can, and there are mechanisms for it.
All right, thank you very much. When Evo is the next question? I had to read it out.
I don't know. I'm coming off of this massive PR, right? Like, and I don't have any more massive PRs in my future. Like, I don't see any that I want to do. So that's why I was talking earlier about helping other teams with, you know, anything possible to get them integrated. That's the real next thing. It's not up to, it really isn't up to the whole team at this point. It's just up to the few members that are in the bottleneck, as Anton put. So let's put maximum pressure on them. Everybody message them every day, 4 times a day.
So everybody supports them, which is actually true. All right. So when XK CEO of Dash?
When XKCD CEO of Dash?
Dash doesn't have a CEO.
Yeah, Dash doesn't have a CEO. I don't think XKCD would want the CEO position.
And also maybe a, how do you call it, public service announcement? That everyone remember to vote this cycle, just 2 more sleep to go.
Yeah, almost,
yeah
2.5 days. Yeah, and we're having record low voting at the moment, so it would be very appreciated to vote right now.
All right,
for
I
those
see.
wondering, for those wondering, it's not for a lack of effort if Evo isn't yet out there. The effort is definitely there.
Maxi effort. Okay, well, I don't know if you answered this, but how much will it cost? I guess it refers back to the storage cost.
Oh, I don't know I don't understand the question.
All right. All right, I'm looking at the other questions. Yeah, they did ask when Evo, aren't there any cheap banking CEOs out of the job lately? Oh, yeah.
For whoever asked that question, do you really want a bank CEO as CEO of Dash?
Yeah, that's a theoretical question, I guess. Any roadmap updates needed?
Well, at the moment, we can just see how things are going, right? So we haven't integrated WASM DPP yet, and we should have done that about a month ago. So it does seem like we are not yet in the testing phase, and we are supposed to be in the testing phase at this point, and we are not in it. The one good aspect is that as time goes on, for example, like TenderDash is much more stable than V10 was. So we're probably going to encounter very few issues there. The refactoring that I did is probably going to lower the amount of bugs in the testing phase significantly in DPP as well, and being able to figure out how to solve the issues more quickly. But yeah, we're still not in the testing phase, and we need to get to the testing phase as soon as possible. The thing is that because we're at a bottleneck, as Anton said, in the JavaScript Rust JavaScript, like the Rust into JavaScript code implementation, what I don't think everybody really understood this, but I'll explain it a little bit more. What the Tenderdash team has been working on, and what we actually kind of have a lot of work done on, is basically just replacing the last remnants of JavaScript in the system. Now, it's not planned for a testing phase, right? Because we're not adding extra work. But if we can't work on anything else, and we don't, like, if we can't add, who says like 9 women don't make a baby in 1 month, right? That's a good expression. Then we have to find tasks that, will help us for the future. And getting rid of JavaScript completely will not completely, but out of all server side node work is really going to help us, especially on speed. So, that is kind of happening in parallel. That effort, I estimate, at about 2 months of work at the moment. And I really don't estimate this first to get to testing phase at 2 months of work. But the point is that if we're not there in 2 months, well, we'll probably have the Rust version completely ready. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do want to kind of say that is the plan B.
All right. So next question, how much will it cost to store some data on Dash platform?
We already answered that one.
Yeah, so can we put the link for the HPMN?
Let me.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think we can put links in the live chat.
It's not released yet, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the FAQ.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I'm trying to see right now in the slides if I have them. Oh, I don't know where it is. But I remember it's quite cheap. I'll get that to you guys by next sprint review.
All right.
Just ask the question again.
Is DashPay just going to be an integration in the wallet?
Yes, DashPay is an integration in the wallet. You can turn it on, and I believe you can turn it off. The wallet will automatically ask you if you'd like to join DashPay. If you'd like to join DashPay, you can register an identity and then have all the DashPay features. And that's all built. That's been built for years, just so people know this. DashPay has been finished on mobile for quite some time. I think people can remember probably in 2020 to get the alpha program, or 2021. I forget, it's been a while. It's done, it's ready. Obviously there are some modifications that are needed, but yeah, we're literally done with one thing, then finalizing another part of the project, then finalizing another part of the project. Now we're probably on the last part, DPP. So that's the last thing that needs to be fixed. It's not like nothing is ever finalized, right? So we're probably going to have to slightly revisit everything to some extent. Like there's probably going to be a bug here or there in the testing phase in Grove DB and RS Drive. But, I think actually it's an interesting thing. We should probably have a counter up of, an issue counter of each project and how many issues we have in each project, just for fun for the testing phase. And I mean, I just cannot wait, really. I want to get to the next phase. And we're close, but yeah. And I have to ask you guys for a little bit more patience.
All right. So there are many questions here. So I'd love to know who that motto was by. 9 women don't make a baby in 9 months. 9 developers can't finish platform in 2023. Okay, that's a cheeky question. Yes, I think we already answered the when
Evo questions.
Yeah. Have we determined how usernames will be assigned initially for known persons?
Yes.
Known in quotes.
Yes,
right.
we have.
Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. So there is a current strategy that we're going to go for. And inside of Platform, we have something called, we have a governance system in Platform already, right? That allows for governance contracts. There's a little bit of work there, but it's not much to allow for better tallying, but it's minimal. Basically, you can register a contract that allows Mastnode voters to vote. So voting through Platform for a specific thing. So basically, inside of the DashPay contract, the DPNS contract, we're going to put in an initial phase where people will register their intent to have a specific name, and it's going to be a popularity contest among Mastnode owners. What does that mean? So let's take our dear friend, the Desert Links. If he says, okay, I'm this identity, and please vote for me. This is me. And he puts in his username and his identity and shares a link to vote, maybe on Discord or someplace where he's well known. Then other Mastnode owners can vote. So this period most likely will last for 2 weeks. It will happen after Platform is activated. And so when Platform activates, we are not going to activate the DPNS contract in its true form immediately. We're going to have a small period where we allow people to say, okay, this is the name that I want. And the various people can then vote. And the person with the most votes for every name basically gets the name. It's actually, I think, going to be kind of fun. And then after that period, free for all, anybody can take any name.
All right. If we don't have
oh, and one other thing, the way you'll vote for those will be directly through the wallet, through iPhone and Android wallets.
Very cool. All right. So I guess we can wrap it up. So thank you. Okay, what about squatting massive amounts of usernames?
Well, that's the whole point. You can only register your intent to get these names, right? So you can register the intent to get, 10 million names, but if you're downvoted on, so you actually have to pay a cost for each username. We haven't determined the cost, but it's going to be very minimal, probably for this first 2-week period, probably something like $1, not much, or maybe even a little bit less. But there will be a cost associated to getting one of the initial names. And then after that, so like, let's imagine you try to squat and you say, hey, okay, 10,000 names. Well, Mastnode identities could just be like, nope. I mean, the Mastnode network could be just like, no, you're not getting these 10,000 names because, well, for every single name you can vote, and people can just downvote you if they see that you're not that person, right? So let's imagine that it's a non-contested name, right? So let's imagine that somebody's trying to reserve what's a non-contested name? Super Elite 1372. Probably nobody really wants that name, right? So nobody's going to say no to your reservation of that name, and you'll just get the name, right? It's actually, even if people say no to your reservation to that name, if you're the only one that tried to register it, you would get it, right? It's literally the person with the most votes in case of a conflict of two people. So yeah, so let's imagine I'm quite well known as Quantum Explorer. I say, hey, I'm Quantum Explorer. I'm sure there are going to be some trolls in the system that registered Quantum Explorer as well. Let's imagine that somebody with like 20 masternodes says, no, I'm the real Quantum Explorer. Well, okay, they'll put their 20 votes to that, but hopefully we'll have more people that recognize the people with the names that have been in the community for quite some time, and there would be more people voting for the people that they think should get that username. Obviously, it's not a perfect system, but making a decentralized distribution of names that isn't extremely complicated and that uses platform features, well, I would say it's pretty good, right? Because in the end, it showcases abilities of platform for DAO governance models. So it's like a great initial way to see, oh, wow, platform really can do some cool stuff in terms of governance. And at the same time, like, I hope it will get a lot of people engaged in the system.
All right, we have a lot of other questions and comments on usernames. So I believe in the near future, or maybe a little bit later, shall we have a Q&A on this topic to address all the upcoming questions related to usernames?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely going to be a big topic on that, probably towards the end of the testing phase, probably more towards the middle. Right now, I want to say that, like, personally, I'm focusing all my energy, every last second of it, getting us over this last hump, so we can get I don't even know what version we're at, V24. Onto testnet, so incubator has, you know, something to test against, and we can just move on with the new system. So that's why, you know, people that might be seeing me quite a lot in Discord and why I'm not there right now, well, it's really because, you know, just this has to happen.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we will have an AMA on this topic, so excuse us to not answering exhaustively all the questions related to this, but we will definitely spend dedicated time and attention and another AMA with this topic. All right, there's nothing like them. Thank you, everybody, for joining today, for the questions, the feedbacks. They're really immensely helpful. And see you in 2 weeks. Wish everybody